And this is your best chance at getting canceled off YouTube.
This is probably your best effort, yeah. Oh, do you mind if I vape pot all the time while we're doing this?
My office is going to smell like a freaking pot.
Oh, this smells good. Shane even tried this. He liked this.
Yeah, right.
Shane, reach over and bend that thing down in front of him.
It's still, well, I just didn't want to block.
Well, you
I
can
didn't
pull
want
it
to block
down.
this. I have this. This is what I have going for me.
You do
can
know
pull it
we're on
down.
the air now, you know.
Does it matter?
I just thought I'd tell you that.
There, how's that?
That's perfect. That's really good. All right, so
I'm froze.
thanks for coming over. And for people that don't know, these two are largely responsible for the part of me that's screwed up.
No,
that didn't
I was
turn out
going to say,
normal.
don't blame.
Yeah. My mom, and I don't know, I had good parents, but they allowed me to ride home from the Eugene, Oregon Knife Show with this guy 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That was, what year was that?
92.
I think I was-
91 or 92.
I think I was 12. That would have been 92. 1992.
The statute of limitations
Oregon
has
Knife
probably
Show.
run out on that now.
Yeah.
She can't be arrested.
I rode out with Rick Dunkerley, and Barry Gallagher to that knife show, and I didn't have a ride home. And Rick was like, well, we'll find him a ride. And I called my mom, and I was like, I found a ride home. It's with this guy named Wade Colter. He has long hair and an earring, but he's really nice.
We got,
Because I really, didn't have
for
any...
15 minutes, we drove along and he babbled just incessantly and and the next thing I know, he was asleep. I mean, just face down. You couldn't even, he wouldn't even wake up to pee. All the way to Missoula from Eugene, Oregon.
That was your first knife show
That
there?
was my first knife show.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I think you had said something like, "Yeah, I'll take him. He'll help keep me awake."
Yeah.
And what were we driving? Was it like a Geo Metro? What was that car? It
was
the size of a Miller Lite can.
It was a Suzuki Swift. I've never owned a Japanese car. My wife buys them, and it was her car, but it was almost new, and we had a long way to go, so that's what I took.
It worked. Yeah. But I slept from Eugene, Oregon to Missoula, Montana. But I appreciate the ride.
I appreciate
What
it.
year was that?
92, I think.
Pretty sure it was
okay.
92.
2 or 3. Yeah.
Because it was my second year there, and it was your first year,
Yeah.
first show.
Yeah, I don't think I went till 93.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So I shared a table with Devin Thomas at that show. Devin
Oh, wow.
let me have half of his table.
I didn't remember that. No,
That's cool.
Yeah. That was really cool. And what's cool about that is, 30 years later or whatever it is now, the steel we use in our MKC knives was invented by Laren Thomas, his kid, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
He's, now a PhD metallurgist. He definitely was a long ways from being born back then.
Well, I remember the respect we all had for Devin. We used to clean up our act. We'd all be at the motel at night, and I mean, we're animals. We are pigs. But when Devin was there, we all acted like it was in church not because we were afraid of offending him, because we knew if we got dirty, he'd get up and leave, and we didn't want him to leave because we respected him. And
Yeah.
I do better when we just stick to knives.
Yeah, that's his famous saying.
Yeah. Every now and then he'd have to get it back on track.
Yeah. Especially this one.
Those years were, I know, are like my fondest memories of being a knife maker were those Campus Inn days at the Eugene, Oregon Knife Show.
We'd get home from the show, and they'd got to be rooming together, and we'd be rooming together, but we'd all meet in one room, and one of the beds would be completely covered with ironwood or ivory. And who does that now?
Yeah.
I hope they do it. I hope they know how good it would be for them.
Well, the excitement level at those shows, when you think about the difficulty of communication back then, I mean, you could call and talk to someone on the phone, but now with Instagram and whatnot, it's pretty easy to keep up with somebody's life and never you and I rarely talk, but we can still kind of see what each other's doing through like a social media post and stuff. But back then, there was so much excitement at 4 or 5 shows a year, Blade Show or Eugene Show. And that was the only time you got to see other people's work. Mm-hmm. That was the only time you could learn something from someone else.
Mountain men used to stay in the mountains all year long. Deprivations, freezing engines, just so they could get together 1 week in the summertime with a bunch of other idiots just like them and just raise hell. And that's basically what it was. I mean, I really akin to that even back then.
Yeah, it was quite the group of people. Ed Fowler, the old character Ed, and Wayne Goddard was out there. J.D. Smith.
Robert Kramer.
Yeah. Steve Garson.
I think it was the last year I did Eugene. Ed Fowler come by my table pushing a grocery cart with all of his stuff in it. And I said, he didn't see me, so I said, "Hello, Ed." And Ed went,
he went,
and I said, "Ed, I don't have to shake your hand."
And he went, "Hello, Wade."
Yeah.
Because he did the same thing with me. I probably, if I went to see Ed today, I'd probably say, "Hi, Shane, good to see you. I haven't seen you."
Yeah.
Yeah, he always mixed us up.
Those
every time.
Those
painkillers.
I remember those times in the hotel room too, because there'd be 20 guys in one hotel room just hanging out, passing knives around. Usually the first night was passing everyone's knives around, looking at what everyone had. Bob Kramer entertaining people, and Wade and Barry. And then the rest of us just laughing incessantly until our stomachs hurt.
When we go to a night show back then, every morning I'd get up and my sides hurt. It was just, I'd cry. I can remember tears running down my cheeks, laughing my ass off, sandwiches coming out my nose. So many good memories.
It was awesome. And then I remember just trying to stay awake, because I would want to try to hang, but I'm only 12 or 13, and I was laughing at all the jokes. My parents were very respectable people, and then I got to hang around people like you. So it was very entertaining.
That was a little baffling to me, because they seemed like such good people, and you seemed like such a nice kid. Why would they do that?
And look what happened.
Yeah.
It's our fault.
Yeah.
But you played baseball with Rick.
Yeah, Rick was my coach.
They trusted Rick implicitly.
Yep. When I got in the car to go to Eugene, we got to the highway, and Rick and Barry turned around and said, "What happens in this car stays in this car. What's said in this car stays in this car."
And Josh did it not out of respect, but he knew if he did
fear.
tell them anything, they wouldn't let him go back.
Exactly. But I would always remember trying to stay awake. 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Usually we'd go over to the IHOP and watch the vampires.
Vampire kids come out at about 1 o'clock, 1:30.
I'll never forget that. Wade came back at about 2 in the morning. There's vampires over there. They got fangs and everything.
Now it's normal. They're less in school every day.
Yeah.
You have to give them a litter
they
box.
all hung out. All the vampires hung out at the IHOP, because everybody knows the IHOP is much more malevolent than Burger King.
But then, as hard as I would try to stay awake, I would end up waking up in the morning, and it usually was I just fell asleep wherever I landed. I think face down on the floor. But those were good times. I remember, traveling to the Blade Show. Of course, bunch of broke knife makers. So everybody was always rooming together.
Always.
I don't know how many times I roomed with Tim Hancock or Larry Fagan.
There were several shows that I was at that
you only roomed with Rick Eaton one time.
I roomed with. Rick
I'm the king of bad taste, but I refuse to discuss the disgusting.
Yeah, we won't go there.
Well, we probably should go somewhere into it, because now we've got everybody's curiosity.
Nobody wants to follow Rick Eaton into a bathroom.
Oh man, this guy would eat fish and caviar for breakfast and then expect his digestive system to handle it.
one of the best knife makers in the country. But yeah, he definitely.
Hell, one of the best engravers in the world.
Yeah, he's best in the world.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. But yeah, those hotel rooms were fun. I remember
Even traveling.
building the berm between each other. Sometimes we'd have two guys in a bed, and we'd have to build a berm between each other.
Honestly, two guys bunking with somebody. Two guys. I mean, a lot of guys are really uncomfortable with that. But
Well, that's because you always try
when
to
you
cuddle
have
with them.
when you have two guys in a bed, you both lay there with your arms to your sides. Just you don't flex a muscle because you don't want to be gay. So I mean, other than
Not that there's anything wrong with
not
that.
that there's anything wrong with that.
Allegedly.
Hey, some experimentation in college, but I understand.
You were
were-
young, you needed the money.
What do you think? Well, and then there was always waiting for
I'm honored, but I'm also curious.
Barry asking you to hold his briefcase.
Yeah, oh God, yes. There were so many things that were cliche, but can you think of how many years we've laughed about Barry Gallagher's briefcase? It might be 2 years, 3 years, but when it comes up, we always laugh because we lived it.
Tell them the story. Tell people the story about
when
his
you'd be at an
briefcase.
airport and you'd be waiting to get on the plane, and when it comes boarding time, the lady comes on the loudspeaker and announces boarding. That's when Barry would stand up, hand you his briefcase, said, "Hold my briefcase, I've got a shit." Barry, we're supposed to get on the plane. There's time. Trust me, I've done this before. And then he'd go to the bathroom and he'd come back and he'd give him his briefcase and he'd board the plane. And I think some other people thought the same thing, but I mean, the picture was so clear in my mind. What you do is when he hands you the briefcase and he takes off to go to the bathroom, go out to the middle of the airport, set the briefcase down, and then run like hell. The next scene that you'd see would be the robotic. You'd see the robotic bomb squad unit advancing on the tarmac towards his briefcase and then hitting it with the water cannon and all that crap flying all over. Man, and it would, Barry showed up at Rick's last hammer in, what was it, in 2019?
Pull that thing up there.
In 2019,
Yeah.
he shows up at the last hammer in, and it was really good seeing him again.
Yeah.
But if I never have to room with that son of a bitch ever again, and I always had room with him. Rick and him would stay together, but by and large, nobody else wanted to room with Barry, so
Or
I
you.
got stuck with it.
I roomed with Schwarzer in New York
Yeah.
when he had sleep apnea.
Oh God.
And yeah, you've never heard anything like it. It's like sleeping in the middle of a zoo. It's not just snoring. It's, snorts and gasping and howls.
Reaches.
That was the thing about rooming with certain people. Dunkerley would snore, and I remember like throwing shit at his bed, and then he'd roll over a couple times. He'd roll over and be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "What? Did you touch me? No, I don't know what you're talking about." And then try to beat him back to sleep. That's always the hard part, is beating a snorer back to sleep, and you're just like stressing, laying there like a gut, and then all of a sudden,
Then you're sitting there, laying there, thinking and listening to them, and then every time you're laying there still and quiet, and you're not making a sound, but they're snoring. But in your head, you're thinking, "God, listen to that. God, I want to. What a piece of crap."
Yeah, I had earplugs in, the pillow over my head,
Yeah.
pushing it down into the bed, and I could still hear him.
So talk
and-
about Schwarzer in those early days, because the other thing besides knife shows we had fun at were hammer-ins. So the Montana guys, and that's really where the Montana guys got the you and Wade and Barry and Rick got the name the Montana Mafia.
Yep.
And that was it? Did Shackelford give you guys that name?
Shorter.
No,
Schwarzer.
Schwarzer.
Okay.
Yeah, that was after my hammer in '95.
Okay, so the for people that don't know what a hammer in, essentially it's a conference where people get together and learn. and those still happen today.
Demonstrators.
Yeah,
that come
demonstrators.
And teach.
And there's different forms of it. There could be 2 or 3 demonstrators. There could be 10. But they come and they teach things. And then back then, it was kind of the Wild West because that was a perfect opportunity to abuse all of Shane Taylor's equipment and use all of his steel.
His flux, his
just
bag
flux
of flux
was.
has still got some in it. Let's get to work.
Flux the shit out of his forge. Yeah, turn that thing
His
into
forge,
a molten swimming
his
pool.
forge, which weighed over 1,500, it was a conglomeration of stuff that weighed about 1,500 pounds. And you look down, and it's all balanced precariously on a Dukes of Hazzard TV tray. You'd be down in the bottom trying to beat a hole in the flux out of the bottom of it, and the legs would just be shaking.
Yeah, if Josh fluxed his billet one more time, that would have been enough weight to tip the whole thing over.
Yeah.
So I had to beat a hole through.
Schwarzer was one of those early demonstrators that would come out to your place. I remember blasting anvils with black powder. I remember Schwarzer sitting on an anvil with a lit fuse.
Yep.
Crazy.
Lit it with a cigar.
I was telling Shane about the time we got here, after that hammer-in was over, somebody, I don't remember who, but thank you, whoever you are, sent me a VHS. For all of you that don't know, VHS was the media before DVDs. And
you have to explain what DVDs are now.
Yeah.
yeah, I had a CD. I said, where can I find one of these CDs? And my kids laughed at me. Why? What's the matter with this? What's the matter with this singer? No, it's not the singer. Nobody uses CDs anymore.
Yeah.
But they sent me a VHS of that hammer-in, and it includes Schwarzer in the army helmet holding my Japanese sword, conducting the blasting of the anvil.
I remember just being scared of Steve back then.
Oh, really?
And I have footage of shooting the anvil.
Do you?
Man, we got some distance on some of them.
It'd be cool to get that.
I'm gonna try to. I just found it just the other night. It was just probably last week.
I just recently found the still pictures of it.
I looked for that for years.
If you got those, send them to me. We'll try to put them over the top of this podcast.
Oh yeah. I have them on my phone. So no problem.
Even the naked wrestling part.
Yeah, okay. Especially the naked wrestling. Steve was. That's when he was competitive. I think powerlifting as well. That's when I actually thought Steve was old back then.
Yeah,
that's how young I was.
I got news for you. He was. He's just really old now.
About 10 years younger than I am now.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at how old you guys were when we were going to that first knife show, and yeah, what were you guys? Probably early 30s.
Oh no,
like
I would have been
92,
mid 30s to late 30s.
Mid 30s.
I think I was around 40.
Were you? Yeah, I thought you guys were.
I don't
super
age
old.
fast. I'm like Dick Clark. I'm eternally youthful.
Wade's looked like this since he was 13.
If you shaved that Burl Ives looking Democrat crap off your face, you'd probably look 15 years younger yourself. Just remember that when you start caring about that shit.
I haven't cared what I look like in a long time.
Obviously.
Oh yeah, that was back in the days. You guys
had so goddamn
called
much
me
fun.
Psycho Knife Boy.
That hammer-in, I lit the forge Friday, and it never shut off until Sunday afternoon.
That's back when propane was
And if
probably 40 cents a gallon.
If somebody at 2 o'clock
right.
in the morning starts rubbing their eyes, I got to go to bed. And we all called them bedwetters.
Panty waist bedwetters.
Bedwetters.
Yeah.
Quitters. You'll never amount to anything.
Well, the
Well, that
nearest
was out in
neighbor,
the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
out by Mile City,
the nearest neighbor was like 5 miles away, so
out on your family ranch.
running trip hammers was no big deal.
And then staying in Dallas's house, that was cool. Your brother and talk about your brother. You and your brother flying a plane.
Oh, I didn't fly it.
Oh, it's just your brother.
I helped him build it.
No wonder you didn't fly it.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
imagine Wade if he had to fly one of his knives. He wouldn't get on one of those either.
I've sat with him on so many airplanes, and there's nothing. I mean, this guy gives me the creeps most of the time. But when he's sitting there in the seat beside you on the airplane, and he has to sit by the window seat. Well, I have to sit by the window seat. So I let him sit by the window seat. Like if the plane's going down, he's gonna do anything about it.
Well, I know how to fly it.
He sits there in the seat, and in all sincerity, he'd look at you and says, "I can fly this plane," and you're like, "Where did that come from?" What? You know, there's a lot of things that you learn when you travel with people.
Well, when Shane has a simulator, he thinks pretty much makes him.
That's it. I remember he used to convince people he had a compass in his head. he had a compass the size of a dime on his damn wristwatch. That's how he.
When I was guiding, I'd put a watch in the top of my hat.
Yeah.
And I'd look at the sun and go, "Yeah, it's about 3:15." They'd look and go,
"Yeah, that guy's good." That's funny. He had to impress him with his compass skills because he couldn't show him any deer.
I see you've been hunting.
So what about building this plane?
Yeah, so it was called a Gold Wing. It was fiberglass and styrofoam. And,
confidence building.
It was supposed to take I think.
You guys work for Boeing?
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Whistleblower.
Well, that one didn't crash anyway.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to take 100 hours to build. I think I had 100 hours in it myself.
Yeah.
Just helping him. He finally gets it done. And in order to learn to fly it, you go out and you taxi up and down the runway and get it's a canard wing. It's a canard wing, so the tail is in the back.
Okay.
And you're supposed to just get that to lift up a little bit, and then set back down.
Sure.
Well, Dad and I were going to check calves over in our winter pasture. It's the spring of the year, and he's taxiing this thing. We pull up there and give him a hard time. "Aren't you flying that thing yet?"
Yeah.
And so he walks out, instead of just taking one click on the aileron, takes two. He goes about 50 feet, and this thing just pops 100 feet in the air immediately. He immediately dives for the ground, trying to land it again, but there was just a little bit of a crosswind, and it blew him off the runway. So we watch him porpoise over the horizon in this plane. And we think, well, maybe he's just been flying it all day.
Yeah.
You're getting good at that, Dallas.
When he comes back around, we saw the scared look on his face, and we knew he hadn't been flying.
Yeah.
Oh, did I mention when we harassed him? This was right at sundown.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So he didn't have.
So
a lot of flying
he
light.
has limited time to get this thing on the ground.
Yeah. How did the landing go?
Well, the third pass, he finally came in, and it was a do or die situation, because the fourth trip around was going to be total darkness.
Yeah.
So yeah, he came in real good, and come in hot enough to stay where the wind didn't blow him.
Yeah.
And he got about 10 feet off the ground, and
That's the problem out there. You take a plane off and you end up in North Dakota with the wind.
yeah, he got about 10 feet off the ground and cut the power, so it just dropped like a rock.
Yeah.
Kind of did a little ground spin, and he jumped out. He kissed the ground and whooped and hollered. You never seen anybody so happy to be alive in your life.
Did he ever fly it again?
No. He taxied it back to the
Put it up
to
for
the
sale. Put
Quonset.
it immediately up for sale.
Oh
didn't he?
yeah. He
But I
sold
imagine he put pilot on his resume for the rest of his life, though.
Only used once.
Yeah. That's cool. Talk about it's a little known fact, and it's a disputed fact, but it seems, according to Shane Taylor, to be a fact that you invented Damascus steel.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought I did. So I was out in the middle of nowhere.
You didn't you didn't see it on YouTube?
No.
God, YouTube. You know what we had then? If
Playboy.
If you stuck your arm out the window to turn the antenna, You could get 2 channels where I grew up.
No, we only got one, and yeah, you had to adjust the antenna every time.
And when the phone rang, you answered the damn thing. With curious anticipation. I don't recognize the number. What's the mystery of life anymore? I tell the phone rings and you look at it and you say, I don't know the number. Well, it might be Ed McMahon trying to give you $1 million.
People
You
these
don't
days
know
don't even know
unless
who
you
that is.
answer.
What was the story about you inventing Damascus steel?
Well, I read a book that mentioned a samurai sword that had millions of layers.
yeah.
And I knew, a little bit about, forging, being on a ranch. And so, yeah, I set about creating Damascus. And I didn't know it was called Damascus even. Yeah, I
Did
got,
you ever?
I actually took.
Did you ever come up with your own name for that? Like Damascus?
Shamascus.
Shamascus.
I'm
going to go home. I'm going to
I
go
can
home
see
and
that
trademark
going on
that.
his business card right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're going to be using Shamascus
the
in your
Damascus
knives.
pattern.
Damascus.
Yeah. Straight out of the galaxy of Narnia where the dragons fly abundantly.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
We
Is
talked
that
about-
is that like your ultimate TV show? Like it just came back on. What is it?
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
We watched episode
season.
number 1, but it'd been so long since the first season that we can't even remember what the hell's
What
going
show
on.
is this?
That's what happens to me
The
all the
dragon
time. I have
one.
to watch it all over again.
Oh yeah, I don't.
What the hell's it? What
House of the Dragon.
House of Dragon.
I don't stream except in the restroom, so I don't get those shows.
I thought
Actually, Lord of the Rings is where
is that
I
right
really
up your
got
alley?
picked
Even
up.
though he wears a cowboy hat,
dragon
he's about
stuff.
the weirdest son of a bitch you'd ever meet. If you
We remember, we did the Eugene show and we all had fun. We had fun everywhere that we went.
Yeah.
But going to New York City
yeah.
with all these guys and
Me
Rob-
and my fringes.
on
Yeah.
Broadway in front of the Crown Plaza Hotel, the limo door opens and the village people climb out.
Shane had this coat with fringes.
The fringe of death.
Yeah.
They
Fringes of
were
death.
long, too. They were like about yay long.
Tactical fringes. And his cowboy hat. I remember Rob Hudson would go out there. I think that was wasn't that the place where Rob Hudson kind of cup checked the one girl because he swore it was a girl and somebody told him it was a guy because it was a tranny. That was back before trannies were normal. You remember that story?
Continue to talk.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
You're going to get kicked off YouTube for saying that.
These are artifacts.
So Shane started We're going to bounce all over. People are going to. No one's ever stayed on track with weight around.
It's really hard to keep on track with weight around.
Okay.
Um,
You mentioned
he's
you
digging
brought it
into
up.
a certain-
You brought it up.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what do we have here?
The guy that met this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2:00 in the morning down the bar, but down by
You
the.
better clarify that.
Oh,
What is
That,
this? New York's newest and hottest
Look at
escort service.
look at the
No
name.
more lonely nights.
Turn it over and look at the
Your
name
Wish
on the
2000.
back.
Cherokee.
And she was gorgeous, just incredible. But
How does he have this card? Just
what?
this is the
This has
transvestite
been,
He
this has
packs it
been
with
in,
him.
this has been in my briefcase since New York.
for 25 years. This
Yeah.
is 2000. This is
Well,
24 years.
I'm going to the men's room by the Crown Plaza's bar.
Scoot up here.
It's like this little area with it's a classy joint, so they have upholstered furniture right outside the bathroom. There's this beautiful woman sitting there, and she says hi and smiled at me sweetly, and I'm just this hick hillbilly. Hey, how you doing? And I found somebody at 2:00 in the morning in New York City that was willing to visit, and I love to visit.
Like I said, at a knife show,
She
Wade
said,
never,
"Are you
Wade
here
never
for-
slept at a single show.
Where are you from? You have the cowboy," and it was like, "Where are you from? You have that cowboy hat." And I'm like, "I'm Montana, and I'm here for a knife show, and I'll do this." And she says, "Are you here for business or pleasure?" I said, "Oh, I'm here for a knife show, so it's strictly pleasure and all that." And she ends up handing me this card and said, "If you'd like to have more on the pleasure side, just give this a call and ask for Cherokee. Okay. She leaves. I use the bathroom. I go back out and buy, I used to cruise the halls of the hotels, till 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
Yeah, looking for anyone to talk.
For somebody.
People hide from Wade.
I got to know the security staff, and I went up to the one guy and I said, "Hey, I'm just down there is this a prostitute?" He looks at the card. No, he's got a suit on. You know how the crown.
Yeah.
Well, he looks at the card and he looks at the name. He says, "She was in here?" I said, "Yeah, she was just down there by the men's room, or by the bar." And he said, "She's been blackballed from this place. She was blackballed on several occasions, and on the last time she was arrested, blah, blah. And just so that you know, she is a he." I thought, this is something I'll be able to tell my grandkids. This is a story I'll be telling till the day that I die. But no, that was me. And
is this the person that Rob
I don't know if it was the same one, and I know the occasion that you're speaking of, but I thought this is the boys' podcast. Let's give him some good shit for it.
I cannot believe I brought that up. I cannot believe it
has
took
been
him
in my
3
briefcase
seconds to
ever
have
since.
Cherokee's card out
Yeah.
from 24 years ago.
Well, it's like the word mezzanine. It's a word I love, but I seldom get to use it in a conversation.
Yeah.
This is the same
Wade
way.
got to use it about 20
I
minutes
had
ago.
to carry this card for 25 years for the perfect opportune moment to reveal it.
Josh has a mezzanine. Hey, I got to use it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I had a similar experience in Paris. Doc Price and Matt Diskin and guy we knew there.
Probably Hank Nickmeyer.
Hank Nickemeyer, yep. And we were all crammed in the guy we knew named Patrick.
Yep.
And we went out.
This is in Paris, right?
In Paris, yeah.
Yeah.
We went out to have a drink at Patrick's favorite bar.
Yep.
And on the way back, he took us through this park. And there were women, I say with quote marks, standing almost completely nude all along the sides of this park. And I mean, they look like Playboy models.
Yeah.
And that is if I had ever seen.
This is coming from a guy from Miles City, Montana.
I tell you about
But
the
anyway,
strippers
Patrick-
we used to get in Miles City, I'll tell you. 52-year-old double mastectomy survivors. And you were glad you had them in Miles City. With cellulite.
About every other one, Patrick would go, "That's a guy." We're going, no way. And yeah, that is. And about the third one he did that to, Matt Diskin looked at him and said, "Patrick, all I have to say is you have some very beautiful men in your country."
Oh my God!
Boy, that was a diversion off the subject.
Yeah.
Those guys would, in order to get, I think it was Matt, and I don't know if Nickmeyer. I think it was maybe also Nickmeyer would stay at the same hotel and request the same room and hide their weed in the garden bed outside of their window of one room. So the next year when they flew in, they dig it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
used to at Atlanta, well, I think New York too, but in Seattle, I seen it. He'd hang up he had this big, huge chunk of sausage, and he'd put it in like a sock and hang it up, and it just reeked.
Diskin?
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't be telling these, but I will. But he'd hang them up and then put towels underneath the crack in the door so that nobody out and then the room would just be full of smoke for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And he put a sign up
What was the sausage for?
To smoke
for the
it.
odor, the absolute stench of it.
It eats it?
Well, it overpowers it. It wrestles it to the ground and she puts it in a chokehold.
Speaking of the Atlanta Blade Show, talk about the. Well, were you there for the Dunkerley mooning?
Oh yeah.
I missed that year.
You did?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, some people go to bed earlier, and no, that was so sweet. And that was a storybook moment. And you know, I told Shackelford years ago, you know, because it's kind of back then we weren't really thinking, hey, someday I'm going to be a mastersmith and people might need to respect me or something. We really didn't care about that shit. So we did pretty much what nowadays that with cameras everywhere, with people with these damn
Cell
phones,
yeah.
We did never
Yeah.
ever been able to do some of the stuff that we did.
Dunkerley and Barry Gallagher were going to decided in the Renaissance Waverly in Atlanta. It's all like a big courtyard inside the hotel with the pit where there's a bar there, everybody hangs out. And they had decided going up the elevator, the glass elevator that looks down on the pit.
Four-sided glass elevator, or three-sided.
That they would moon the entire pit on the way up in the glass elevators, including what we considered at the time, and were respectable people, Wayne Goddard, Phyllis Goddard,
and
the like.
Probably the entire staff of the Renaissance Waverly.
And
we're standing in a
collector
line
base, the knife collector base,
with their red coats and their gold chains on their shoulders. They're all standing in a line expectantly.
So Barry
gazing up towards heaven.
Barry and Rick got in the elevator and in their excitement to get their pants down, and there's some kind of bushes that protect anyone from seeing into the elevator in the first 5 to 8 feet, and then you emerge into the sky in the elevator. And in their excitement to get their pants down and get their asses up against the glass, they forgot to hit a floor.
They didn't push the up button.
Yeah, they didn't hit the up button. So they got all up there with their pants down, pressed up against the glass, and the lobby doors open. With
they sat there and sat there and sat there.
People standing there to get on the elevator, and they're standing there bent over with their asses against the glass.
I didn't see that. I was down in the bar, and I was down there with the hotel staff waiting for this thing to occur. So I didn't get.
Did you have pre-warning it was coming?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah. That's why. I mean, literally the whole staff of the Renaissance Waverly was there. I think the cooks came. I think they called the day shift to come.
And so I think Dunkerley had to waddle.
No, it was Barry.
Barry waddled across the elevator and
well, you know, they also had a handrail,
right?
And Dunkerley's tall. Barry's tall, but not as tall as Dunkerley.
Definitely not tall.
Dunkerley was perfect size, but Barry had to get up to that bar and get up on his tiptoes to stick his ass over the bar.
Oh,
but
God.
But from what the guys had said, it was like, I don't know, an older, not elderly, but an older couple.
Yeah.
The door opens and the older couple is like, you know, and they're like, we'll just wait. You know?
we'll catch the next one. We'll catch the next ferry. So up they went, and Rick says he can still hear in his head Wayne Goddard howling in laughter.
He was howling. He was just howling, crying, tears. You know, and I told him, it wasn't like,
pull up to that mic.
it wasn't like it was that well advertised, or I mean, because you could do that kind of crap and get away with it back then.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'd never get away with it. But
You'd go viral.
Shackelford didn't know. He'd never heard anything about it, and this was like several years after it happened. And I sat him down. We sat down, and I told him the whole story. And it's like this was only one of dozens of these kind of things that he and I both said, this is what should be in Blade magazine.
Yeah.
People should know about this. But then on the other hand, no, really people shouldn't know about this. And
he did end up putting it in Blade magazine.
yeah, they finally did. He did finally it wasn't the complete story.
No,
but
it was sanitized.
Yeah. Shackelford's another one of those. It's so funny because
he's the editor of Blade magazine.
Yeah, and he has been since the last century or two centuries ago.
He's like 1,000 years old now.
Yeah. I used to fly into town early we went golfing one year with him. And then used to go to Braves games with him a couple different times. He's a big Braves fan. But
I remember when you got to go to the Braves game. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool
Yeah, we went together to the Braves game.
Did you go too?
Yeah,
No,
Eric and I.
I always try to forget anything I do with you. But
I'd had a really good show and I was packing a lot of money, so Eric was my bodyguard.
Really?
Yeah.
Egley?
No. Eric
Fritz?
Eric Fritz.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you were. I think we all went together.
I don't remember. Maybe we did.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's been so long.
Barry and Rick, the one year, and I couldn't tell you which year it was, but one year they went a couple days early to Atlanta, like you did to go to the game.
Yeah.
So they could go to this really, I mean, when Barry gets into something, he gets into it all the way.
Right.
He just started golfing. So, I mean, he'd been golfing a while and he was really into it, and Dunkerley golf, and it's a cool game and everything. I don't golf.
Imagine that.
But I went with him just to go golf with
those two.
Just to be on the course for 18 holes with Rick and Barry and Joe Culpepper.
Yeah, Joe.
Want to talk
Joe
about...
was a heck of a golfer.
That was the best time.
I actually talked to Christy the other day for the first time in years. Christy Culpepper was... Did you guys know she had a photographic memory for numbers?
Did you know that I can tell you exactly what she looked like in 2005?
She was pretty cute.
She was a pretty little thing.
We always ask Joe, how did you get her?
Joe, things are tighter between you two, or do I got a shot at this?
She's definitely a pretty gal with that accent too. She was cute.
And I'll tell you.
One year I walked up.
They're great people. I mean,
yes.
that's I can't say enough. Nice.
Yeah, or at least Christy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I one year I walked up to pay for my pearl that I was buying from them. They're the mother of pearl supplier and whatnot. And I walked up to pay for my stuff there at the Blade Show, and Christy asked me, she's like, same credit card as last year? Because I went to hand her my credit card, and I was like, yeah, I think so. She's like, oh, I know the number. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I remember numbers. And so she read off my credit card number and expiration date.
I never knew that.
She remembered it
either.
from
That's
a
amazing.
year earlier.
How would you like to be married to somebody that never forgets?
That would be
Really?
awful. Yeah. I thought that was a trait all women had. No, she, and then I went and asked Joe, I'm like, how is she good looking and smart? And she's still married to you. I'm still just not putting this puzzle together. No, they were great.
Joe's mom was, she was a sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I ever met her.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you met her.
New York, she used to be, she'd come out to
She
the
was
New
the
York
first,
show.
she was the original.
Yeah.
You
Joe
probably
didn't go to New York. He'd go to Atlanta, and his mom would take it in New York.
Yep.
Yep.
That's right.
Another funny story from the Eugene, Oregon show was when Barry had the colostomy bag. And we called him.
There's many funny stories surrounding the colostomy bag.
The time I remember you guys called Barry and told him to air up that colostomy bag with helium and fly out to the Oregon show.
And he was in the hospital. I mean, they were getting ready to go to a show. Them guys,
I think they were in Billings.
They were all staying up in Billings in the motel,
Yeah.
and Barry had that attack.
He had to go to the ER.
He had that attack.
I saved Barry's life.
And
You did?
Yes, he was not.
So you're the one.
Yeah, I'm responsible for it.
They'd gotten done with the surgery, and Barry was just recovering, and they'd just gotten back. They were in Barry's. And I asked Barry, I was on the phone. I said, Barry, how many inches of colon did they? It's 23 inches of colon. And he's like, tell him can you take that home? I'd like to make a knife sheath out of it. And Barry's like, he was dying. It hurt. He's splitting his stitches.
Oh,
we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, he was not going to go to the ER.
No.
And yeah, I had to talk him into going to the yard. And even then, he didn't check himself in. He drove all the way to Lewistown.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would have done that even had I
really?
not got him over there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And, he was like
hurting.
within an hour of dying when
Yeah.
he got to Lewistown.
Yeah,
He was in a lot of pain.
that was bad for sure. Yeah,
We didn't care he was in pain, but he was in a lot of pain. No, he was. He was sick, and
How did you learn how to make knives? Who taught you, or how did you get into it, Wade?
I've always done stuff. I've drawn pictures and made model car. Always crafting in some way, shape, or form. And my dad ran a body shop in South Dakota. So other than trying to be a wannabe cowboy working on ranches, I also dabbled into that. And because of that, I started working to make a surface smooth and flat.
Yeah,
Truly flat, or is it not truly flat? It's that kind of a thing, and you got to have that kind of perception and that kind of feel. So I really automatically had that stuff built in. So when it came to just working steel, if I wanted to make a piece for a car or a bracket to weld on, I wouldn't just cut a bracket and cut a hole. I'd make rounded corners.
yeah,
But I wouldn't make just rounded corners. I'd make symmetrically rounded corners.
yeah. You were one of those makers that really worked without a lot of power tools. I mean, you had a grinder and a disc grinder, but you weren't a surface grinder guy. Or a mill.
And it's not that there's anything against my hell. I think there's been several occasions I'd gone over and used your surface grinder so I could take them home and make them perfect. Well, it's truth.
It is true, yeah.
You can
make it more
But
perfect.
I had a
And you had such a
situation. I had a
style.
situation. I was 40 years. At the time of messing around with knives. Actually, I'd started probably. I was in my early 30s.
Yeah.
And I made the first one.
How did you meet Dunkerley? I mean, how did you guys connect? When did you two connect?
I went to the Eugene show, and Dunkerley was there, but Barry wasn't that year. Actually, it was at Goddard's place because they'd gone up. They were at the show because they'd gone up there to spend a week with Wayne Goddard and learn how to do a folder class.
Okay.
And they'd also been forging
Like
knives.
a friction folder?
So they both took their journeyman test at the same time with Wayne Goddard.
Who did? Barry and Rick?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. That's how I got to know him was through Goddard. And I got to know Goddard by going to a hammer in Stevensville with Shane the year before.
Stevensville, Montana?
Stevensville, Montana.
Goddard was down there?
What was
Yeah.
there? Yeah, Wayne Goddard and Gene Chapman.
Dave and Babe Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a knife making
Blacksmiths.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was a
blacksmith hammer.
In NRA?
Northwest Blacksmiths Association.
Northern Rockies is...
Yeah, Northern Rockies.
Yeah.
Blacksmiths.
Okay, I met Goddard. I got to be friends, and because I was trying, like he invented Damascus, I invented goblin folders. No, I'd seen some stuff in the magazine with Schwarzers and
Had Schwarzer done a goblin folder before you?
and Schmidt. Yeah, oh yeah,
And Schmidt,
Schwarzer.
yeah.
Well,
Schmidt.
Schwarzer. Remember, he's 1,000 years old, so
Right.
he was probably making them while there were still dinosaurs walking around.
And
But
Jim Schmidt.
Him and Jim Schmidt made him. Larry Fagan. Okay, I'd already
Larry
seen.
Fagan's a decent knife maker. I mean,
He's a hack. I'd already seen examples of goblins that the three of those guys did, so I started messing with making friction folder goblin folders.
Are you guys staying here at all in the morning very long?
What?
It'd be cool to get
I'm staying here for the week,
It'd be
buddy.
cool to get our video guy to get a picture of this to put over the podcast. But are you leaving early?
And I got a stand.
Well, we don't have to leave her.
I got a stand for that if you want to.
I don't need your stand.
We're not demonstrating.
really
till
cool
Saturday,
stand.
So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool to get Henry to shoot this and put this, even a little video clip, to put this over the podcast. So this is a goblin folder. Little tongue moves on
How do you
it.
know where to put? Where's the camera looking at it?
Right here. But
you know,
he'll video it. It's going to be out of focus. No, this is super cool. So this is a, and we'll put a little something over it, but this is a cut and shoot, right?
yeah.
Explain this.
Well, it's
Explain the history.
somebody in like the 1500s, shortly after gunpowder was invented. Prior to that, they had weapons and tools. Some genius thought, hey, why don't we put a gun and a knife, or it might have been a gun and a sword, or a gun, a little cannon barrel on a pole axe, or so. Now,
did you see that in a book? Where did you see that? First see that?
First cut and shoot?
Yeah.
Really, it was probably
Also, can I have that when you die?
the Elgin. No, that's why I got it. That's why I never kept anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't like you. I didn't make knives and not be able to sell them so you'd have them later on. I made knives and I sold them, and I didn't really think
That's
about it.
because
But
Wade made one knife every 10 years.
I got kids and I got grandkids,
Yeah.
and I didn't have anything really that.
Yeah.
So
Wade's one of the most productive knife makers ever.
Yeah. that's why it was kind of important to me to get some of these things back.
Well, that's what's kind of cool. I mean, we just talked about it. Like this is my Mastersmith dagger sitting here. Let's stop talking about Wade's junk and look at a nice knife.
From what year? From
Look
what
at this
year?
thing.
From now,
Look
what
at
year?
this thing right here.
What year was that for Mastersmith?
2000.
I thought so.
Yeah,
We
got
tested together
Yeah,
99.
we got our Master
Mine
Smith
was 99
together.
years was the next
in
year.
2000. But this just came back because unfortunately the really great man that owned this, his dad actually bought the set from me, and then he inherited it, and then he passed away way too young. But I just got these back, my Mastersmith set back yesterday. But it is cool because none of us really ever kept any of our work except for Shane, who couldn't actually sell them. But it is cool to get some of these things back and see, to have to pass down to our families someday.
Well, it also makes you reflect on, my God, have I really been doing this that long?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
It is unbelievable.
What year did you build this goblin cut and shoot?
You know, that was asked the other night, and I don't know for sure. I'm thinking, in 2005, I stopped by Knoxville and to Knife World to look at Samuel Bell stuff.
Right.
I believe it must have been like 2006 to maybe 2000, right in that range.
Yeah.
It might even been later, but
I'd say that's about right.
It's when you start thinking about it, it surprises you. Hey, that was a while back.
Yeah. Well, it's cool because both of you guys really developed your own style. I mean, between your goblin folders, Wade, and some of the recreation Samuel Bell Bowie stuff that you've done, and just frankly not recreating other stuff, but just your own style with carving and texture and faces. And then we'll talk about Shane for a second. And how did you get off on the dragon track?
Yeah, I knew that dreaded question was coming.
Because I mean, when did you make your first knife?
Oh, I made my first knife when I was 12.
Well, I was 11, so I win.
Yeah.
I
was actually
out on your ranch.
Yeah, I was actually copying my brother Dallas.
Oh, really?
And we'd always heard Dad talk about he made knives when he was in World War II overseas.
Okay.
And they got confiscated when he came back.
His knives?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he brought a bunch of stuff back, but I
Have
think
you seen
they
many
liked them.
GI made knives for people that
Not like actual GI made.
fascinating shit.
It would have been so cool to have these because
Because they used what they had, like plexiglass from the bomber windows or aluminum parts from engines.
he used all the parts from a crashed German plane.
Really?
Yeah,
take
so the handle was like you'd stack leather.
Stack leather, yeah.
He stacked
Like the old V42 knife.
plexiglass
Yeah.
I have
from a German
one,
plane.
Really?
Yeah, so
That's
how cool would
Did you
it
see
have been?
pictures of it, or did he just
No.
tell you about it?
I
Yeah, he
have
just
one
told
that I
us
That was
picked
your
up
dad?
Yeah,
in a pawn shop that's similar. It's plexiglass, aluminum, it's aluminum and plexiglass, and then I'm sure it's ebony, the wood, but on the end it's made out of horn and it's carved into like a goat's hoof. The blade is a dagger
Yeah.
that's not four-sided, it's three-sided.
Oh, cool.
And the guy improvised some kind of tools and engraved stuff on it.
Did you buy this at a pawn shop?
$30.
Really?
The thing of it is you can, and the sheath was a homemade sheath cut out of some kind of a piece of leather from whatever piece of equipment, and you could see the stitching is just crappy.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool, and just the thought process of wondering the story behind it.
Yeah.
Man, if your dad could, and I could just see him confiscating that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's too bad, really.
Yeah.
Did you ever have
he didn't hide it good enough.
did you ever have an actual day job? I mean, like, what was before you were a full-time knife maker? Were you just working on your ranch?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I bartended for a couple of years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I worked on the ranch.
Did you?
The ranch I grew up on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Till about 98.
Okay.
Is when I left the ranch.
Okay, and that's kind of when you got pretty serious with knives.
Yep.
I mean, that would have been
Yep.
right before your Master Smith and all
Right.
that. Yeah, and that's when you moved to town.
Well, before I
Well, no, we already had the house in town in 91.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was traveling back and forth, and sometimes my wife and I would meet each other, going opposite directions.
Right.
And you'd been, I think the year before I met you, that's like the year before, some knife show up in Canada that you'd done.
Yeah,
See,
yeah, that
that's
was
why-
I
This
think
was
91.
This guy was a knife maker that I only had to drive half a day to see, and he'd been to a knife show, so he's legit.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
I'd
real.
been to Vegas too.
Yeah. you've
Well,
been
and
to
didn't you
Vegas,
first
told
see
me.
Damascus steel for real, like in the Denver airport?
Yeah, in
A Blade magazine.
1988, yeah, I found Blade magazine in a mall in Denver. I
And
was
realized
taking
you
my
did
dad
not
to-
actually, in fact, invent Damascus.
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
Did,
I saw it and I was amazed. I said, "Oh man, there's other people doing this and they're doing it
When did
way
you-
better than me."
When did you? At what point did you guys get really serious? Like, I know you were doing some forging and stuff, but you know, like when the Damascus kind of run started for like
I would say 92 is when I really got serious about knife making,
okay.
and then.
Say,
And then it was
strange-
in 95 when we met
Strange
Schwarzer.
that's when I came into your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'd fed off of each other. If we didn't, I mean, he was the closest guy. Otherwise, I had to drive all the way across the state of Montana just to.
Were you
wait.
scared with as much hair product as he wore in those days to let him around your forge?
Yeah, the hairspray in front of the forge.
Aquanet.
I tell you what, wished I had me that much hair. I'd still have a ponytail if I didn't have this big bald piece of meat sticking through my hair back. Because nothing looks.
First time I'd ever seen a Kydex hairspray
Hairspray holder. Yeah, we could mold those downstairs here. and
You know
call it
that
the
was
Colter.
that was one of the things about having hair that long, and I had long hair. I got pictures of me. Hell, it's halfway down my back.
Yeah, I know. You were the kind of people that I didn't trust, and I had to ride home with you.
That's exactly what my brother said when he first met him.
Yeah.
He said, "Till he cuts
Look
that
out
hair,
for
I
that
wouldn't
someday.
trust
But
him."
when I
Yeah,
when I
hippie
let it
bastard.
all get that long,
I should have taken that advice.
Yeah.
When I let it all
No
get
shit.
that long, you don't have to put anything on it. It's just.
Were you related to John Colter?
Well,
that
we'll
just-
save that for another podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what do you want to know about John Colter?
Well, I just want to know if you're related to him.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's pretty cool.
You know,
Colter.
these
Tell.
guys be like at the Quigley shoot or something, and just to raise my shit, they'll call me up. Hey, Wade, there's a guy here that claims he's a relative of John Colter's, because I'm kind of, the stolen valor thing. Well, it's the same damn thing.
Yeah,
you're claiming to be related to one of the real driving forces in the settling of this country, and you're going to claim you're related.
How many
to
generations away do you think you are from him?
A long way. Hell, I don't know. It was
5 or 6.
He died in 1811. There it goes.
No, it would have been later than that, wouldn't it?
No.
When was the Lewis and Clark?
1803 to 1806.
Okay.
He
was the one made to strip down naked and run from the Indians, right?
When he finally got away from the mountains.
Yeah.
He tried 3 times before it finally took. And when he said, and he prayed a prayer, and he's, God, if you just get me out of these, I'll never come back.
Give me your glass.
And he never did go back. Although he was invited, he was back home in Missouri. He settled in a place in northern Missouri called Charest. It's up in the part of the state where Springfield is. And he lived 8 miles down the river, the Charest River. Yeah. His neighbor 8 miles away was Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone was an elderly man in around 1810.
That's pretty wild.
But could you imagine the conversations? They probably didn't get together that much, but
they had to.
They understood. Yeah. These are 2 men that understood. They could talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
I always thought, but at any rate, he died there. He died of jaundice. Oh. He had a wife and he had a little boy, and he ended up dying.
Well, it's pretty cool.
Just a few years after he came home from the expedition.
It's pretty cool. You're related.
When
to
you
him.
look at most of the people that were on the Lewis and Clark expedition, almost all of them died young, and it was due to the physical deprivations that they suffered on that trip.
What do you think, Shane, if we'd have told John Colter someday your kin would be sitting around watching South Park?
We were talking about South Park.
Well, when they talk, when Clark talked in the diaries about, the personal things about, I've read most all the journals, but he described John Colter to be a serious, sober man, a good man, trustworthy man. He was trustworthy enough that Lewis and Clark allowed him to leave the expedition before the expedition was, and it was kind of a contract thing that they complete the expedition, but he'd performed so admirably. They not only let him go, they staked him. I
just listened to Undaunted Courage a little while ago, the Stephen Ambrose book about the expedition. It's pretty cool.
Well, just think of going all the way from Three Forks to Custer, Montana, naked.
Yeah.
I've done it several times.
Yeah, in his Suzuki car.
Now I need to go pluck out my mind.
They told me to walk that line, and I just took off running.
So when you guys, was it Rick that hosted kind of the first Hammer In between all you 4 or 5?
Yeah, I think he had his in
we went
94? 94 or 5?
94,
Stevensville. That
was where we met.
Where we met him.
Yeah, that's where we met.
And then
that's where the Montana
Rick
Mafia
was up at
met.
the ranch in Lincoln, and I remember those days of those Hammer-ins were awesome because we had Don Fogg came out, Steve Schwarzer, Hank Nickmeyer, Rob Hudson came and taught. I think Devin came up. Al Dippold came up. Yeah. We had some amazing talent come up to these Hammer-ins and teach, and
well, that's what fired this whole thing was. Yeah, we were picking the best of the entire knife world.
Yeah, and for people,
they're
teach
the
us
best
stuff.
of the knife world. And the other thing that is really interesting about it, every person that you named off, we could have a podcast and tell stories about each one of those individuals, just like we've been talking already.
Yeah, I actually
creative people, eccentric people, maybe crazy people. I don't know.
I have some video we came across just recently of when Don Fogg and everybody came down to my folks' house for dinner, and we were playing basketball in the shop. You were out there playing.
I have a still picture of that.
Do you? Yeah, Don Fogg playing basketball.
Yeah.
Rick guarding him, bald as can be. I think Wade was back in there doing commentary.
I wasn't there, but I have a picture of it.
Yeah, it was just a cool time, and people would sign. My folks kind of started to deal with people signing people's doors, so like they'd sign our bathroom door, and then people started signing Rick's door, and it's pretty cool the level of knife makers back then that were signatures. In fact, my old shop still has all those signatures on the doors and the dates.
Fortunately, mine doesn't. They all wore off.
Really?
Yeah, they weathered off of it.
Yeah.
And I always thought, honestly, it's like having an autographed guitar. You mean somebody screwed up a perfectly good guitar by putting? I don't care if it was Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have him sign something else, but criminy, because it doesn't add anything to the autograph and it doesn't add any value to the car.
The cool thing about those doors, though, is you stand there and look at those now, and you see like you remember people that you wouldn't have remembered.
It stirs up.
It does. It's and you see the dates now. It's like, holy shit, that was 30 years ago.
And I remember back then I always thought, hey, what a dork having me sign his door. But now I look back on it now and I think, my God, I'm glad he had me do it, because I'd have never done it unless he'd have wanted me to do it. And,
yeah.
But it is a cool thing to see.
Yeah, Eric's carrying on the tradition. He's got signatures on his wall in his shop. Yeah,
that's cool.
Now, my tradition was like at Josh's Hammer Ends every year. I'd select a place just out of sight enough in his shop, and I'd hang up a big centerfold of a marijuana bud on his wall in his shop and wait to see how long it took him to finally see it.
Thing is, when Wade and Shane, Barry, those guys come around, you definitely have to hide all of your good stuff, all your ivory, all your pearl. You walk in, Wade will just be going through it. This is nice.
Yeah, I was going through Wade's.
Maybe I like it when you try to hide your ivory. That's how I feel about it.
I was going through Wade's photographs a while back, and I was going, hey, that's my ivory. It turned the page. Hey.
It's amazing when you look back at those shows. I just connected with him the other day again on Facebook after years. Dan Westland.
Oh, yeah. I like Dan.
He was awesome. And think about the prices of fossilized mammoth ivory back then. The stuff that we were picking through and going that's no good.
You talked to him
you would
recently?
die for today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just messaging back and forth on Facebook. And he had an ivory tusk for sale.
It's good to know he's still above ground. I bought some cool shit from him.
It's pretty cool that a lot of people are still above ground. When you think about all the people we've been involved with that are still around, the odds are that not everybody be still around, but it's cool. I mean, one of the most motivating, cool guys that you could ever imagine is Schwarzer. And at his age, to still be cranking away, he's always got young guys in his shop. He's always making steel. He's always learning stuff, teaching stuff. Who did my podcast a while back? Jerome Winan.
No.
I saw that.
Dragging his oxygen tank around, still grinding knives.
Yeah. I heard somebody told me not that long ago that he was still making knives.
Yeah, just cantankerous old bastard, but just great guy. And I swear he's gonna blow himself up with an oxygen tank and a belt grinder. But yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Jerome and the way he is the shit that built America. Yeah. It wasn't safety. It wasn't OSHA. It was men like that would go out there and do anything to get the job done.
He grew up without power on a ranch in North Dakota. That's a cool podcast. And he fell off, I think, a plane or something when he was deployed, broke his back, fucked himself all up. And then, a bunch of those people, including himself, all their records were lost in that big VA fire down in the southeast part of the U.S. So, like, there's no records of his VA stuff. And just like, but he's just, when he was on this podcast, oxygen tank, 80 some years old, and he's telling me about a cylinder he's taken out of his neighbor's tractor to try and build a bigger hydraulic press to get more power out of it, and like,
yeah, it's not like he's moving a bookcase. No. He's moving tonnage. Yeah.
And he's sitting here talking about like he wants to start trying to make these new bowls or something, and it's not like, oh, I'm just still making the same thing, and like he's like literally trying to advance and like start something new, and he's 85 years old. It's really cool.
Well, when he was at My Hammer in '95, he was making like 500 knives a year.
Yeah, yeah, and he's still
cranking them out.
I tell him all the time, like, Jerome, raise your prices and slow down a little bit.
Yeah, that grumpy little bugger.
Yeah, I remember always walking in there and he'd have just like, I just bought 5,000 pounds of saw blades and I got to cut them goddamn things up, And, he's funny old guy. There were some pretty cool people.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
I love
for
Jerome.
sure. The cool thing about the knife industry was always everyone kind of were quote unquote competitors, but everybody shared so much information. There was a Blade article sitting over here and it showed pictures of me going to like George Heron's shop and all the things that George Heron would share. Everybody was so sharing, whether it was those hammer-ins. I mean, everyone's, hey, how did you do that? How did you do this? But then, like, check out what I did. And that sharing that happened is what really drove the industry so fast and so far so quickly.
It's what drove the Montana Mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Us sharing information in between each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the information mattered.
We drove Mosaic.
The information mattered.
So fast, so far. We're still there's still trying to catch up with.
The information mattered, but the competitive fellowship-ish, brotherhood-ish, the excitement level,
because you wanted to make
we didn't get together that often, but Christ, I used to talk to Barry every goddamn day.
Yeah. But you wanted to beat each other, quote unquote. You wanted to make something better than the next guy.
You just didn't want to get left behind,
right?
You didn't want to be left behind. If Shane improves, I mean,
well, that hasn't happened in years.
I said if. Well, it was true though, and
it's cool to see the way the guys have evolved. Like you look at Shane's knives, Dunkerley's, the engraving, the gold inlay.
Dunkerley's just absolutely killing it.
He's
with
killing
his
it right now.
Well, there's the thing about
I hope he doesn't listen to this because if we say nice things about him, we might have to blank it out.
His design and his style is great. His choice of materials is good. But there's a lot of guys that engrave now. You know that. His engraving, for some reason,
it's his own distinct style.
Is in the top tier. Yeah. It's not down here with the rookies that.
Yeah, and there was
Shane's engraving is not like anybody's. That was what, and it's
that's the cool thing about knives when you look at guys' styles. Like Shane's style is his own style. You can recognize a straight knife from 20 years ago to today. Like there is a style there, but then the components of it have gotten better. The quote unquote decoration or the embellishment, the steel. Finish, everything's gotten better, but they're still the same. There's still that style, and then there's Wade's style, and Rick. It's cool but there's been also a constant evolvement of that style and evolvement into. For a long time, it was just fixed. I mean, for a long time, it was hunting knives. It was 52 and 100 ball bearing steel hunting knives, and then it was, chainsaw chain Damascus and. Then the pattern welding.
Then it was liner Lux with bug themes. Then it was dragons.
I don't know what it is about our friends Wade, but Barry went off into the bug ecosystem, bumblebees and bugs, and dragonflies, and Shane went off into. I don't know how it is that you weren't on the Game of Thrones.
And there's one thing too. We don't make knives like each other. Well, maybe Barry and Rick kind of did for a long time.
That's because Barry copies Rick.
but we really make kind of different stuff. But we all learn the mechanics based from the same basic people from the same basic school of thought. And I think it would be a good thing to you know, the Montana knives, even though we were all different, we were known for the style of the Montana type.
Yeah.
And it came from the New England knife makers, Al Dippold and Rex Robinson and Steve Hill and
Hudson. Yep.
There's just a whole slew of them that, you know, the kind of right down to even the type of screws that we used.
Yeah.
None of them socket head woman sissified pieces.
Dippold brought a lot of the liner lock stuff.
Absolutely. How the way the work file work on the screws. None of
and some of your style reminds me of a lot of Hank Nickmeyer's type.
I copied Dunkerley pretty much. I mean, this is the classic example.
Yeah.
I mean, because that and I tell anybody, I that's one of the features. My knife is file worked in the style of the Dunkerley weed. I've always given him tribute.
Yeah. The Dunkerley weed, the vine file work. You know, the other guys that we ended up becoming close with a little bit later on were more of like that Arizona, Larry Fagan, Tim Hancock. That's really, I changed a lot of the way I do things after spending some time with Tim, because Tim was so detailed. He had a process. Yeah,
because you're ashamed of what you did before.
Yeah, his stuff was so clean. The cleanliness of Tim Hancock's work. And, you know, we're talking about a lot of these old guys. I hope people will go Google a Hank Nickmeyer knife or
Don Fogg.
Don Fogg.
I got to bring up Don Fogg.
No, and I did
Don
before.
Fogg
Don's. It's the conversation really starts with Don Fogg, frankly, and Schwarzer.
He changed my life, actually.
Yeah,
him and Schwarzer.
Yeah, him and Schwarzer. And then you know, for me personally, a lot of that was Hancock. Spent a lot of time with him. He was such a process oriented guy, and there's different knife makers out there. There's guys like Wade has no fucking process. Let's face it.
Pure artistic.
Yeah, so that's my process, baby.
Yeah, smoke a joint and stare at it for 7 hours, and then do 2 inches of file work.
Wade is a lot like Don Fogg. It's just a lot of art that just comes natural.
Don way late in his career
Fogg
sold all his power equipment and started hand scraping blades.
Yeah,
you know.
Well,
and I've tried to, and the thing is trying to lead other people into the aspect of doing things in that fashion. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating sounding, but they don't want to do that. But Don Fogg said a long time ago. I said, "Is it?" He was talking about using a sin.
Yeah.
To do a sword blade.
Right.
You can do it faster with a sin than you can with a belt grinder.
Yeah, watching him
and end up with proper results.
Well, and watching him shape stones, shaping stones to clean out fullers and some of that. I used a lot of that and some of the fuller stuff that I did. And then it was interesting because there's this combination of stuff like that with Don, but then there was the such scientific detail stuff that Tim would do.
The texture alone. I mean, like this, a lot of the stuff with.
Well, that's Fagan. Fagan was a. Or are you talking forged texture?
I'm talking. Who was it? Don.
Don did a lot of forged texture guy stuff.
No. Who was the guy that he was?
Jimmy Fikes.
They partnered, made knives together.
Kamal.
Thank you. Jesus.
Murad Sayin.
Yeah. Well, you look at those knives, and they were doing stuff with textures on bolsters.
Yeah, people need to
and
Google
even the
Kamal.
handle material.
Yes. Google Kamal knives. Yeah.
That was just not even. Nobody else was doing that kind of shit. Maybe Virgil. Virgil was another
yeah.
guy that did some really cool
Buster
texture
Warinsky
stuff.
did some really cool carving texture stuff, and then Fagan. But texture on blades was definitely Don was just crushing that.
Yeah.
And Larry Fagan, I read early on in
CNC work.
In my
All
knife
CNC
making, I read an article about Larry that had, I think it was Bruce Voiles talking to Larry Fagan and about sole authorship and things like this, that stuff that, even though that's what I was doing.
Well, and Larry was not. He was making all this handmade stuff, but he was productive.
He talked about Damascus in a way that nobody else I'd ever heard before talked about it, because he didn't make Damascus for the sake of Damascus. He made Damascus for the sake of a knife.
Yeah.
Boy, you don't think that's stuck? That's always stuck with me.
And then some of the spurs and stuff he would bring to shows.
Yeah.
He's an artist. I've never actually been to his house, but I've heard like all the columns and posts and stuff in his house are all carved, and his leather work. I mean, he is
and Tim
an
would
artist.
get together and spend time and go on pack trips. And
Superstition Mountains.
Knowing Tim Hancock and knowing Larry Fagan, without knowing that they were friends, I'd have never put them two together to go out in the back country for a week and live like.
Yeah. And then another guy that was influential in my making was Harvey Dean.
Harvey Dean.
Harvey was another. Still, Harvey's just doing unbelievable work these days.
Yeah, he just won an award at Blade Show.
Yep. Was that best in show?
No, best fixed knife or fixed blade.
Harvey's usually
I hear he uses his awards now to heat his house in the winter. He's got. Can you imagine the pile that he's got?
Harvey with his feather Damascus, and then his reproduction. His buoy work. A lot of his silver sheath, tip and throat stuff,
his engraving.
He cares. He cares. It matters to him.
Yeah. Usually when I call Harvey right before a show, a week or so before a show, usually it goes this way every time. Hey, Harvey, how you doing? Oh, I'm in a real bind. I'm in a bind. I done did it this time.
I am the man of constant sorrow.
And you get to a show and it's like, how you doing, Harvey? Well, I got her done, but I haven't slept in 7 days. Yeah. He's great.
Well, he's got. It's that classic voice and delivery. It's like warm molasses flowing out.
There's something about these people that when you meet them, you wouldn't know that you're meeting an incredible artist. If you just met Larry on his horse in the backcountry, or if you just met Harvey walking from his deer stand, you wouldn't know that these people are unbelievable artists.
If you met Rick Eaton.
Yeah, you would not know he's one of the best artist engravers in the world, or the best.
He does.
You definitely wouldn't know that Shane would be a dragon knife maker for sure. You'd think that he's probably got horses and spurs in all of his knives, but
I
he
do
doesn't.
have horses and spurs in my knife.
You've got horses and spurs.
I'm pretty sure that
horses.
it came from.
I think you stole the spur idea from Rick, didn't you?
I'm pretty sure that it came from either Rick or Barry, or they might have simultaneously had the same idea.
Exactly, yeah, that's what happened.
But the term
There's
for
been
him
a lot of
the Gothic Cowboy, or the Dark-Eyed Devil, or Shame Taylor, Knives of the Big Thigh. But the Gothic Cowboy, probably more than anything else, if they laid you in the ground tomorrow and put a headstone up, all they have to put on is Gothic Cowboy.
There's definitely been a lot of accusations lobbed over the years.
Yeah, there has, yes.
Yeah.
Mainly by Rick.
Yeah, and he's not here to
making
defend
fun
himself.
of my dragons.
I mean, Rick was invited. It's kind of his fault for not being here to defend his honor.
Yep.
Shane told me that one day. He said, I'm working on the last dragon knife. I said, really? Yeah, it's going to be the last one. And
well, it was the last
my
one of
my
that
son
series.
at that time was about 16 years old, and he's overhearing this conversation, It would be like The Last Dragon. And then my son said, it's not over, The Return of the Dragon, or something like that. And it came to pass.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I named that one The Return of the Dragon. It was a whole new series.
Do you guys do either one of you have a like favorite knife? Like if you were to say, hey, show me one knife that you made to represent your career up to this point.
It'd be kind of a toss-up between The Last of the Dragons or Dead Man's Hand.
What was that knife?
That was, I engraved Wild Bill Hickok in gold and silver inlay on one side, and then aces and eights on the other with a bullet hole through it. And then the blade was 3D dice,
How do you think about
And
this
then
stuff?
you
which
had-
is the most complicated
and-
pattern I've ever done.
And
if you look at
the
that,
beautiful presentation case.
yeah,
It was
well, I did
all-
that. I did that with the whole
It
Gambler
was
series.
all work of exquisite,
Talk about the 3D dice.
perfect.
Well, the 3D dice, each
In steel, in
in the
demand.
steel.
steel.
Yeah, when you actually have the knife in your hand, it actually stands up. It's a kind of an Escher thing.
Now, I found out that really the knife has got micro abrasions on it that when you hold it,
That's because Shane's never hand sanded a
it
blade in his life.
inoculates you with LSD. So the dice actually become 3D. No, they really do. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite pieces of steel he's ever done, and he's done a shitload of steel.
I had to do that pattern twice, and you have to do each number individually, and then stack them because dice have an order.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to stack them in the order, like you're looking at the corner of the die and see the three numbers.
Yeah,
Well, you have to have that correct.
right.
So yeah, it was incredibly
Challenge.
complicated and challenging to do.
What about you, Wade? What's your knife that you're the most proud of? Is it this
You know,
one?
I'd have probably willingly answered. You know, you'd say that should be it, and that really rates high. But
I mean, you've only made like 7 knives.
I mean, there's a number of honestly. This knife here,
Yeah.
it's nothing special,
Did you get it back from a customer?
but that is one of. I'll never let this knife go.
Did you get this back
I
from
made
a customer?
that. I made that in 95.
Can I have it?
96. And I sold
Really,
it,
it's that old?
and I sold it to David Hodge in New York
What, didn't you generally beg him to buy your stuff at the shows?
you know, David and me stayed good friends. And you know why?
Why is that?
Because I never sold him anything, and he never bought anything from me. There was a couple of pieces that I did sell him, but all through the time, and I do consider David he was a good friend to me.
I think I recall, like on
but
Sunday at the show.
he passed away, and I'll never sell that knife.
Yeah, I do recall.
And I do like it. I mean, it's cool. It's classic.
It's a cool knife.
Nothing special, but I just like
No, it's
the
pretty
hell out of
special.
that knife.
It's a switchblade or a automatic.
This is
People can
a
hear it.
Mastersmith knife.
Oh, is it? One of your test knives?
I sold that to a fellow in Miles City.
This is a test knife.
Yeah,
Can I have it?
he keeps.
Eventually, he's going to
Yeah,
say
he
yes.
keeps stealing your line.
It's like. I
This is
thought I
something
heard.
Wade has
I
asked
thought
us
I
for-
heard somebody ask that question.
Wade has asked
before.
this question for 30 years.
I used to be good at it too.
Well, I don't have one of your knives. So I just, I was trying to get one from you. This is really cool.
I got the muskox tip.
So
from-
for people that are listening to this,
Dunkerley.
let me talk for a second.
All right.
Because I'm important. For people that are listening to this has a face. You made a famous knife, well, famous to us, Man in the Moon knife.
Yeah.
Where it was a face and a blade. So when you close this knife, this is a friction folder. It's got a kind of a tail out here on it that you can, what would you call these? Like
Horns.
his spikes, his horns?
You know, usually they're scrolls like this one is.
Right.
But that one, for some reason, I put the face in it.
Why do you have so many of your own knives? I told you never sold anything.
Well, see, that one I gave that to my dad right after.
Oh, now I feel bad.
Before I even took it to I did have it photographed, and it was a full-page picture in Blade magazine.
Really? So
but it's been in my. It was in my dad's underwear drawer when he died. And
what kind of horn is this?
Muskox. I got that, and I got that from Dunkerley.
This is cool. And so when you close it, there's a face. He's got a nose and a face on here, and then all this scroll work up here. Would you consider that scroll work?
Those would be more traditional scrolls.
What?
But the other things.
Did he steal one of your
Those
ideas?
are my eyes.
Obviously, now those eyes.
Did you steal those out of Shane's off his bench?
Those eyes.
Yeah.
Those eyes. There. Can I see that first eye?
I don't think they're amber.
Sure.
They're like abalone or something.
They're my eyes.
They're opal.
Opal.
Yeah.
Those eyes. Dickie Robinson gave me those opals.
Oh, Dickie.
Oh, really?
Dickie, how you doing?
You didn't steal them out of my bin?
He stuck them in an envelope and mailed them. I'm never going to use these, but it's
Dickie's.
It was the first. It was cool little pieces of opal, and it was about the right shade. And yeah.
So this knife here, since I'm talking on camera, it'll be looking at me, but it's got a face here with a little tongue coming out, and all this scroll work here on this this folder is really, really cool. That's what I was saying. There's really cool style. Let's look at some of Shane's. Where's your stuff at? Whose dagger is this?
That's mine. That's my neck.
Look at that.
You never sold a thing, did you?
I made it for myself.
Can I have it? This
I just learned, and you'll find out when we leave. I used to ask everybody if I saw something I liked, I'd always say, "Can I have that?" Now I just wait till they're gone and I steal it.
I can't ever steal Wade's stuff because he just wanders around in the middle of the knife. So this is a cool knife, and this can be a little hard to see, obviously, on camera.
Yeah, it's too shiny.
But it's heat-colored gold and hard to see. But there's footprints kind of walking down this blade that are forged into the steel. And then some radial patterns kind of in there.
Yep. Those are probably some of the first W radial patterns ever made.
What do you consider?
Did you make that steel a long time ago?
Yeah, 25.
I remember when you made
25 years ago.
Made the steel. He found it under his bench. Did you? What do you consider this engraving on the back? What do you call that?
That's
pattern?
a Greek key.
A Greek key.
Yeah.
That's what it
That's
said
a symbol.
about his engraving earlier.
It's an ancient
engraving like nobody else really does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. That's really cool.
That's an ancient
textured liners.
Greek symbol of eternity.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They would put it around buildings on the motifs.
And this is a fixed blade here that's got a wrought iron guard, fossil walrus amber handle. What is this?
That is ebony.
That's ebony?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Really, it looks like coral, but it's not.
It's a I knew really nice
coral.
Piece of ebony.
That's pretty cool. It's figured up.
It's Makassar, isn't it? Makassar ebony.
Yeah.
Madagascar.
Madagascar. Yeah. Yep.
No, that's really cool. That's awesome. What
the handle is a fossil walrus. That's an artifact.
Yeah,
that was actually an ice axe,
like an ice chipper. Yeah. Yeah, I've got some of those. Those are really cool. Talk about the business of knife making as far as Harvey and I have talked about this. You generally, when you're a custom maker, I was talking to Harvey about it, you generally don't make a lot of money, but you get to do things and live a life that most people don't get to live. You have experiences, meet people. Harvey and I have talked about some of the hunts he's gone on, trading knives, some of the people that you get to meet, or even you go on vacation and there might be a customer that lives somewhere that you get to go fishing with or do stuff with. But what's the business of being a knife maker been like for you, Shane?
Oh yeah, well it's taken me to Europe,
because you grew up on a ranch in the middle of freaking nowhere, West Dakota. You watch your dog run away for a week, right?
Yeah.
So most people from your area I mean, a lot of people from your area really probably haven't been on a plane over an ocean.
Oh, no.
And I'm not meaning that in a derogatory way. That's just how you grow up on a ranch. You might take that ranch over. You might move to town and get a job. But the places that knife making's taken you have been pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah. I've been all over the country. You know, at one point I was doing 6 shows a year. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was traveling all over the country and then,
and out of
the
country.
Ocean. Yeah, out of the country.
Did you ever do the Italy show?
No.
You did Paris. You and I did Paris
invited.
together one year.
What?
You and I did Paris, I think, together one year. I don't know if you were there. I was there with Schwarzer, the Paris show.
Yeah, I don't.
With Patrick and Diskin.
What year was that?
I don't remember.
I don't think we were there together.
Really?
Yeah, the last time I did Paris, I think, was 2001. Then things got complicated after that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I missed a knife drop. We had a knife drop at 7 o'clock.
Talking about the incident at the Paris airport where you stole the people's luggage?
Is this real?
Yeah. What?
Is this real?
No.
Makes you wonder. We had a drop tonight. We dropped our damn paring knives. And
Oh, I thought you meant you slid a Biden. You had a drop tonight.
yeah. Oh, got to check that out.
Now, this is going to be edited, right?
No. No, we don't ever edit.
Edit that part out.
The Biden?
Yeah.
No, we're gonna make that the
Sliding a Biden.
we're gonna make that the clip that the clip that advertises this podcast. What things are you like? Are you still actively going to shows, Shane? Like how many shows do you?
Yeah, I just got back from Blade Show. I'm doing all 3 of the Blade shows. I'm doing Blade West, Blade Texas, and Blade Atlanta.
Okay, the trilogy.
Yep.
Do you take orders? Do you just do stuff and take it to shows?
Not per se. I don't do orders. If it's something that I have in mind to do already, and somebody wants it ahead of time, I'll say okay,
yeah.
But no, I don't do orders per se.
Yeah,
like I don't work off a blueprint or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different ways knife makers do it. They'll open up their books and take a bunch of orders, or take deposits for knives and do all that stuff. There's I remember when I was a full-time custom maker, like I wish I had my brain today that I didn't have when I was 20, because I would definitely have done things different. Wade, are you still making anything?
I just feel more comfortable if we kept the conversation about knives. You guys know I got some things in my medical history. I have multiple sclerosis, and multiple sclerosis affects everybody that has it in a different way. Mine just kind of made me a little dirty. No,
what year
there's
were you
something that
diagnosed
changed.
with
There's
that?
something that has happened in the last few years that is just. It's not that I don't care. It's not that I'm not capable. It's not that I've still got projects. I've got switchblades that are 90% finished.
Yeah.
On trays with the parts laid out, and I just can't make myself do it.
What year were you diagnosed with MS?
97. They suspected it in 95, but they diagnosed it in 97.
Oh,
right?
so I didn't know it was diagnosed that early.
When Shackelford called me, no. Yeah, it was 97. When Shackelford called me to tell me that I was going to be in an article called Knife Makers to Watch in 1998, I was one of those guys that the Blade Magazine.
But they just wanted to watch you.
They did that
not the work, just like you should just watch this person.
They did it for a number of years in Blade Magazine. I don't know if they still do it, but they did it every year they'd name some. And when he called me about that article, I was at that moment recovering flat on my back for 48 hours from a spinal tap that actually enabled the diagnosis. They withdraw spinal fluid because before that it was just diagnosed only based on symptoms.
And at that time, you were working in the power plant,
and
right?
I was working in the power plant and married, raising kids, and making knives, and then this came out of the blue.
What kind of effects did it have? How does it affect you?
Well,
or how did it then?
It affected me very profoundly at the time when I had a flare, and at the time that I was diagnosed, I ended up cramming. I was at home. I had to leave the plant, and the power plant was a different kind of a place to work because we were more like this was a job you had to be there.
Yeah.
We had a 3-man crew. This is a 24-hour-a-day plant, 100%, 110% production, and you had to be there.
Right.
And if there wasn't anybody, we had minimal staff, so I had to be gone for months, and I had to leave because I physically was so messed up with that first real hard go round of the symptoms that I had. It affected my vision incredibly.
Really?
Thank God I don't have a lot of. I'm just goddamn old.
I remember going over to his place, and he would have like 3 glasses on, trying to work on something.
Yeah.
Because his vision was so screwed up.
Did some of that? It might be a dumb question, but is there such thing?
And it wasn't that way all the time. It wasn't that way all the time, but it would be flares. Sometimes they might last 2 or 3 days. Sometimes they might last for months.
Really? Do the MS symptoms come and go, or even like today? Is there such a thing as remission?
Right now, what there is the last few years, I got a neurologist I go see every year. I eventually had to take disability and leave the power plant because you don't want Joe Biden wandering around a 44 megawatt power plant at night. You don't want that.
So instead, we just let him wander around with the nuclear codes, but whatever.
But I haven't
Not a
had
joke.
Most of the stuff that really debilitated and over long term did. Most of it has maybe not cleared up all the way, maybe not 95%, but 80% maybe. And
so you've gotten better. So is it because of
well,
medication?
I got to a point where I got goddamn old, and the neurologist told me that it's the weirdest thing, but if you can survive this disease, 'cause I had it for years. If you can survive this disease and get past past like the 60s,
You just become normal.
he says it often goes into very near or total remission.
Really?
I have MRIs done in my head more often than I want, but there hasn't been any activity as far as new scarring for a long time. Thank God for it.
That's awesome.
Well, I know you've been doing good the last, 4 or 5 years.
And
Just, from what I've been around you, there's a notable difference.
nicotine and marijuana and lots of coffee, lots of pop, very little sleep.
We've been waiting for you to die for years to go after your ivory stash. You just keep freaking holding on.
It's like Keith.
We all had your stuff divvied up.
His ivory stash is just my ivory stash that he stole.
No,
Yeah, everyone's.
I've got some good stuff that I actually acquired. Honestly, I'll have you know. No, tomorrow I might make some. I got projects sitting, like I said, sitting on my desk. Some of them 5, 6. Some of them they're 7 years old. I put in and I got some stuff that I should do. I got stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
It's just I can't really explain to you what it's like to basically be sitting at your desk going, you know, my shop is right there. My vise is there. My lighting, everything is all laid out, but I can't get up and pick something up and start doing it.
Right.
Can't tell you why.
Yeah.
And it's a waste because I'm in better shape now. Actually, the stuff that I do now it's great work.
Yeah.
I haven't lost anything.
Right.
Other than memory.
Yeah.
And the ability to pee in one setting. Maybe one setting, but it hurts.
Well, what do you guys remember about, you know, the time when I was younger, about like me as a kid?
You know,
Boy, hear that silence?
what I've always I've had a student in the past that I was going to go teach down in Old Washington. And these people, a number of these hillbilly buddies of mine call me up and say, "Boy, you got to watch this guy. He's a this and that." And I think the son bitch was stealing or whatever. Well, it turned out that the guy had broken into the shop. You know, they shut down at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And y'all go eat, and y'all come back.
Pull that mic over there.
Y'all come back, and here he is in the shop. Well, he wasn't a goddamn thief. He was just I could relate to this guy because he was so goddamn excited to make Damascus, to be doing this stuff. He just wanted to be in there working.
Yeah.
And see, you was an uncommon kid because you really had the desire.
Yeah.
And you actually did it.
Right.
You stuck with it enough to do it. And no matter how horrible they were, and your knives were horrible.
You know, I have one of your knives. It's first
You do?
file work you ever did.
Really?
Yep.
I'll be darned. That's cool.
I think you were
How can
14.
you turn down somebody
you were
with
maybe 14
enthusiasm
at the
like
time?
that?
Does it look like your file work? Let me see. Let's see.
I don't have any file work on that.
See,
I didn't know you had one of mine.
Yeah.
Some people are talented. Some people ain't. Some people should never, ever pick up a tool or try to make a knife. We've been around a number of them. But there's some people that the excitement level and the desire is just so great that how can you not admire that and want it and desire to throw some gasoline on that somehow if you can?
Yeah.
And you had that.
Yeah.
That was really uncommon. No, I didn't realize it was because you got dropped a couple of times. It wasn't. She didn't mean to.
She did. She was a good mom, but it happened.
How are they?
They're good. Yeah, they're good. No, it's you guys are really the reason for all of this, you know, this building. And
Yeah, we're going to discuss the check later.
yeah, it's in the mail.
You think that attorney cost you, boy?
Yeah.
No, it's an honor. It's an honor to see your success.
Yes,
It
we are
really
so
is.
proud of you, Josh.
Yeah, well, I appreciate
Yes,
that.
what you've done here is just beyond belief.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well,
It's amazing what 2 little trips for cocaine in Colombia can buy a gun. 2 little trips.
yeah, I can get a
You
lot
sure
of,
you're not going to edit this?
I can get a lot of cocaine up there, Wade. Yeah. No, but it really is between you know, Rick and you guys, you know, a few other people, Wade or Tim and Larry and some, you know, people that have, there's been so many helpful people along the way, but you know, to be playing Little League baseball and then get in the car and go to a show and hang around you guys at the Campus Inn and do what we did back then. I just have to thank you guys because you guys allowed me to be around that excitement, you know, to come to your Hammer Inn, sleep on your floor, and be a annoying little kid in the forge while you guys were trying to chase your careers. You know, that's the thing. Like,
Do you know
you guys
when
were trying to chase your dreams and allowed me to kind of be a part of it, which was really cool.
You remember our paintball war?
Yeah.
Do you know what cowboys?
Yeah, I remember shooting you right between the eyes.
Yeah.
Do you
Blinded
do you
me.
know what it means when cowboys say that you're a hand?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does it mean?
You're a good on a horse, good roper.
Nope.
What?
Means you stay the fuck out of the way. Think about it. You never got no goddamn way. Hell.
Yeah.
You was easy.
Yeah. Well,
Plus, we gave you a lot of Benadryl.
you guys gave me a lot of shit too. Here's $20 in coins. Go buy pop, Psycho Knife Boy. Yeah. Head to the pop machine at the campus inn for the 17th time. No, it was I was willing to do just about anything to chase you guys around, try to keep up to you guys. That was some of the most frustrating times. I remember telling my mom several times I wanted to quit because I would make all these knives I thought were great, and I'd get to a knife show, and you guys had advanced, and I could never catch you guys, you know.
But it made you chase, and then you did catch, and
You did catch. You definitely caught.
you wouldn't have if you hadn't chased.
Yeah.
And that's what we all did for each other.
Yeah, it was.
And everybody and every one of us, you know, the mafia is concerned. I've always looked at it from the standpoint of each one of any success that any of us have, all of us. I mean, when he wins awards or Rick wins awards, it's the same as if I won the award.
Yeah, yeah.
Except I don't get to wear it around my neck like Shane likes to do.
The pride in each other, I do remember that, the pride in each other when someone would win, you know, if Shane would win Best Damascus or Rick would win.
Barry and Rick.
Especially when I won with
you go to the motel room after the show was over.
With Rick's idea.
Yeah, with one of Rick's patterns.
and Rick would win like 3 awards at one show, and he'd be building on the TV. He'd build a shrine, a pyramid of awards, and
Yeah.
My best comeback to Rick when he was calling me the black-eyed pattern stealing bitch
Beady-eyed devil.
was, well, the pattern was finally done properly.
Yeah. Yeah, and put into a decent knife. Yeah. No, it was some good times for sure. We got to get I'd love to get Barry and Rick over here and get them in the room to have one of these. I wish you guys didn't live in a different state though.
I wish meth was legal.
Oh man.
But it's not.
Doesn't
So
stop
there.
you. Definitely doesn't stop you. I can't believe you kept all your teeth.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing, ain't it?
Well, guys, thanks for coming over and doing this. I really appreciate it, and appreciate the friendship over the years.
I didn't know we were doing this, or I probably wouldn't have come. But
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome, and appreciate all the friendship.
besides,
over the
we
years.
wanted to see. It's been a while since we've been. He said when we were driving up, Shane said it's been 11 years. I said, no.
And it was longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
13, right?
Yeah, 13
13 years. Wow.
Yep. So, well, we'll have to. I think we're trying to plan a hammer in here next year, so it'd be fun to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be cool.
be fun to get some of the people back together here, and some of those hammer-ins I had here were amazing. I remember Garson setting up his tattoo parlor. Eric Fritz got a buffalo tattoo. Did that tattoo come from here?
I did this. So Eric was trying to chicken out on getting the buffalo done.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't going to. I'll do it. Yeah, come on. Dude.
So Garson did that one?
And Garson bitched at me the whole time because I wouldn't sit still and I wouldn't shut and I wouldn't
Imagine
shut
that.
up.
Imagine that. Tattooing you would be impossible.
Honestly, was Shackelford at that one?
Shackelford was here. Eric Egley photoshopped Montana
Again.
ink on the door.
Me and Shackelford have said this so many times in private. This is stuff that should be in the magazine.
Yeah. Shackelford.
But no,
That the year that
It shouldn't.
Tim Hancock and All of us stayed up late at night.
Yeah.
I can remember.
Yep.
I can remember Tim Hancock
Shackelford shot
crawling
the Thompson
through the-
submachine gun.
crawling through the electric fence
Yes.
and he going, ow! And so that it jerked into the, ow!
Yes.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
I didn't tell those. I crawled through my electric fence, and the middle one is a ground, but the top and bottom are hot. And Tim got shocked right in the groin, and he jumped up, and it hit him in the spine. And he started throwing rocks at me. No, and that's when we shot the bowling ball cannon. Remember the bowling ball mortar? Shooting those bowling balls straight up in the air.
Oh, do I?
Oh my God!
You mentioned, have you guys, when we got here, have
think
you
that's
guys
why I
seen
got
my
divorced.
house? I said, no, that's not the house we almost dropped a cannonball through.
I remember, and people would run for cover, and they ran into my old shop, which that half-inch of plywood is not going to stop a bowling ball from 2,000 feet in the air. Yeah, those were good times. Did we shoot a bowling ball at your? We never shot bowling balls at your hammering, right?
No.
Just anvils.
I'm still waiting for you to bring the bowling ball cannon out to the ranch so we can watch it go like 5 miles.
It would be actually cool to test the distance. I'll put some
Yes.
new tires on it this year. We might have to do that.
Yes, let's do that.
That'd be fun. I'd actually like
Dallas
to know.
would love that.
He still has the ranch?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yep.
I'd like to build a pneumatic cannon that you can shoot sheep out of.
We can shoot wind towers now. He's got wind towers.
Oh,
Towers.
really? Shoot blades off of him.
Paint the tips of the blades red.
Yeah.
A target.
Yeah.
Paint him like a target.
Do either of you guys have a website? How do people find you?
Yeah.
Instagram?
TaylorKnives.com.
TaylorKnives.com?
Yep.
I know you don't have any of that
You
shit.
can email me at Shane@TaylorKnives.com.
You can send Wade a pigeon or a
Yep.
crow,
No, a raven.
raven,
Well,
like the Game of Thrones.
You know, I don't know what's available out there to tell people. You know, back
I'm just going to put his phone number on here.
when I,
There you
do
go.
that. I mean, that's okay because I like phone calls. I'm not.
You know what we should do is we
I'm
should
not
call-
triggered by phone calls. I don't let them hurt my. They make me feel so conflicted. Why doesn't anybody answer the damn phone
You know what
anymore?
we should do is call that phone number on that business card in your briefcase.
You did.
Shemaine or whatever the hell her
When
name was.
I was a kid, you could go to a different town.
Cherokee.
Driving through a different town. Hey, I wonder if old so-and-so is still around. You stop, go to a phone booth, open the phone book up, look down. He is. You call him up. Everybody's number's in the phone book.
That's decades ago. My kids wouldn't know how to use the phone book if you handed it to them.
What's a phone booth?
Yeah, exactly. We used to.
That's
when-
where homeless people crap in New York. That was terrible. I apologize.
when Rick would coach me in baseball, that was the way to tell your parents you were done with practice. Is it was a payphone, but
Exactly.
you wouldn't put a quarter in. You would just dial. They would answer, and you hang up,
And hang up.
Yeah.
and they knew, okay, time to go get my kid.
Yeah, we did that all the time, especially in the winter.
You call.
When we went to
when you
Miles
get to
City
the Blade Show in Atlanta,
the
you
ranch.
call your wife, collect, and she just refuses to call.
Yeah.
Well, I remember rooming you guys. We had calling cards.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you got 5 cents a minute. This is amazing. This
Yeah.
is a great price. Yeah. I remember my mom would buy me calling cards, and that was the only way I'd be able to call
I
home.
remember I'd forgotten about calling cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, guys, thanks for jumping on here. Appreciate it.
Been great, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do
Good to
this
see
again
your outfit.
sometime. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of audience requests for more of this shit.
13 years from now, you guys will be back.
I just
on our
hope you
side.
added it really down to just me.
I watched
us.
I watched his podcast. They're not edited. They're not.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
I don't
bet.
always watch them, but